Should we talk about Chimaev calling out Pereira? Tell me, guys, is that interesting? Is that something you find interesting? I can't get enough of it. I have one problem. Like in the world of blowing this up, in the world of clickbait, and in the world of Chael over here talking about ideas, I need just a sprinkle of why. Because where did this come from? Everybody likes and respects Alex Pereira. Everybody likes and respects Khamzat Chimaev. But it feels personal. It just does. When Chimaev started this, it felt nothing. As a matter of fact, just for timeline, when Chimaev started this, we didn't know that he was a dedicated middleweight. The first time Chimaev ever talked about taking on Alex Pereira, he was still flirting with the idea of 170. He did some match at 178, whatever that was. He's still going to be a top contender at middleweight, and he was speaking from a vein of champ. It had nothing to do actually with Pereira. Chimaev was speaking the very first time he ever did this about being a champ. And he had some support. Gustafsson, for example, Gustafsson said, well, I don't know if he'll do it or not, but he's the only guy on the roster that can do it. And I remember sharing Gus's opinion. We're going, well, if anyone can get to champ, it probably is this young kid from Sweden. Little time has gone by. Chimaev is still staying on this idea of Alex Pereira. Now, he's let 170 go. It's relevant that you understand this. It's very relevant as we're looking at that you understand he let 170 go. Because when he lets 170 go, he can no longer default to, well, I put my finger in your chest, but it wasn't personal. It was about champ status. And that is something he was able to do the first time he called out Pereira. It was more of like an accomplishment. But now that 170 is gone, we don't have champ status. He's not going to be champ. As a matter of fact, he says he's going to let 185 go. He's just going to be the champ. That feels personal. And it's very hard for me to imagine that something happened between those two juggernauts that they kept quiet. But sometimes these personal things are really simple. One guy says hello at a distance and the other guy snubs him. That might sound small to you, and fighter, like sometimes there's things that can happen. Could tie into a girl, it could tie into a management, could tie into some trainers, could form a workout partner. I'm curious, and Alex Pereira has never let one slide. Alex Pereira hasn't let Chimaev slide. Alex Pereira has actually responded to Chimaev. And he said, I'm going after Jon Jones. I'm busy. I'm going to continue pursuing Jon Jones. But if you can get here, come on up. I took that as an interpretation that I'm going to leave the weight class, but I'll be back to 205. I interpret that as, don't worry about what I'm doing. It doesn't have to do with you. But in the meanwhile, you can get yourself to 205. You can start to build your reputation, and I'll see you when Daddy comes home. I mean, that's my own interpretation. It's not specifically what was said. Pierre went a step further and challenged Chimaev to a grappling match, or rather accepted one. Chimaev turns to his coach, Glover Teixeira. They're talking about Chimaev. He says, hey, get him for a grappling match. Get him over there on Fight Pass. Let's get Teshi on the phone. Okay, I like that. I like all of these things, but something's going on here. And the idea of Pierre versus Jon Jones, that is a freight train that is not likely to be slowed down. Carlos Alberg, God bless him, seems like a tremendous guy, does not have the skill set to slow down the train of Pereira versus Jon Jones. Even though Alberg is holding all the cards on who should get it, what should happen, what does history say, how do we show an integrity to the sport, how do we look at the rankings, Alberg's got all the cards. He just doesn't know how. And I will tell you, a fighter does not like to part with $1, but they will. For their trainer, for their manager. They don't want to do it, but they will. A fighter will never think, right? He'll think to bring somebody in for the hands, to bring somebody in for the feet, for the elbows, bring somebody in for the takedowns and the strangleholds, but he'll never think about hiring a creative consultant. Allberg has everything to go get a title fight. Pereira doesn't even have Jones's interest. And that train's coming down the road, and I'm suggesting for you that there's ways for Allberg to step in on this. There's ways for Allberg to come to Chimaev right now and involve himself and say, I hear that you're coming to 205 pounds. I'm waiting on this guy. You're waiting on this guy. Why don't we come see each other? There's just a number of things that you could do to start to bring a little hype and a little bit of interest. But let's say that Pereira does not get the fight with Jon Jones. Let's say he doesn't. Do you think that he wants to come back and fight Allberg? He's going to have to. But do you think a guy that's paid on back-end participation points, right? Again, we don't call it pay-per-view anymore, right? Well, we call it viewership, fine. Do you think he wants to come and fight a guy that doesn't even know how to get a fight with him? Didn't fight for a fight against him that he is entitled to? Allberg is entitled to fight Pereira and doesn't know how to come out, and he doesn't know how to do that. So if Pereira doesn't get Jon Jones and Pereira has an opportunity to come back to 205 and he's looking for something big to do you see where Chimaev, see where that starts to make a level of sense? And I don't predict that's the match we're going to do, but 2 months ago, you guys never would have predicted Pereira and Jon Jones. Like these things have a way of coming together. And if Chimaev wants to continue to call out Pereira, and I hope he does, but he's not going to get ignored. There's not going to be a day when Pereira lets that roll down his back. Pereira's going to respond to it in some capacity. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves with a potential super fight that we never knew we wanted. We never knew was possible. And now it looks like the best idea we've got.